Hello and welcome to the Pretty Good Gaming Daily Triple. That's your no shit gaming news video. 3 news stories in one video with 0 faff. Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2 may well have one of the longest names in gaming, but it looks like a really cool vampire RPG and is one of my most anticipated titles. Unfortunately, it looks like the game might be in a whole lot of trouble. After removing the work of video game writing veteran Chris Avellone in June and being delayed to 2021 last week, the game has undergone significant organizational changes leading to 2 key figures being fired, seemingly without explanation. The announcement was made to the game's official website and explains lead narrative designer Brian Mitsoda and creative director Kai Clooney are no longer part of the team at Hardsuit Labs. This was a joint decision made by the leadership of Hardsuit Labs and Paradox Interactive. Just in case you don't know, Hardsuit Labs is the developer and Paradox Interactive is the publisher. The role of creative director is being filled by Alexander Mandrika as creative consultant. Since 2012, he's worked as a game design consultant and creative strategist, but also worked at Ubisoft on titles like Rainbow Six, Assassin's Creed, and Far Cry between 2008 and 2010. However, the statement made no mention of a replacement for the narrative lead, which speaks to more problems at the studio. Losing your creative director and narrative leads is a massive blow to the development of any video game, but this one is a particular problem because one of them apparently had no idea he was about to be fired. Lead narrative designer Brian Mitsoda told Rock Paper Shotgun his position was suddenly terminated on the 16th of July 2020.
You're terminated.
He said that this came as a shock to me is underselling it. I've worked on Bloodlines 2 for almost 5 years. The story and main cast was initially conceived in my living room. I helped develop the pitch for Hardsuit Labs and helped pitch the project to Paradox in Las Vegas. I've been in charge of the narrative since the beginning, working long days and sometimes weekends to deliver a successor to the Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines, and I've never been led to believe that I hadn't succeeded. Very obviously, I have also been involved in the PR and marketing side of things, even though that was one of the most difficult parts for me. As I said, losing such a key figure is bad for any game, but being told you're losing your job without any reason is a really shitty move from Paradox and Hardsuit Labs. Apparently, he had nothing to do with the game's delay either, which again suggests that there may be some serious issues during development. I was not part of the conversations that led to the decision to delay production, and to my knowledge, there were no delays caused by the Bloodlines 2 narrative development. I am confident and proud of the work that I and my team put forward. When that work will be seen and what form it will take is unknown to me. If the delay was caused by issues in another department, then there are clear communication issues at the studio at the very least. Developers and people involved in game production come and go all the time, so that's not really a surprise, but losing such a significant figure without any warning is a huge red flag to me. Hopefully after the delay, Hardsuit and Paradox can sort out some of these issues and make the game better because the early footage looks very impressive. Nevertheless, I don't think any of this speaks to a particularly healthy development cycle, so I doubt this is the end of Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines 2's problems. Jesus Christ, that name is so long. And next up, RockSteady recently received accusations of sexual harassment at the studio and that management did little to nothing about it. I covered that story yesterday, so check out that video for the full story, but the gist of it is that some of RockSteady's female employees wrote a letter together in 2008 claiming they'd all received some form of sexual harassment. That letter was then shared to The Guardian last week in response to the studio seemingly doing little to address the concerns raised. The plot thickens as now the studio has publicly revealed on Twitter a new letter supposedly written by some of the same women who wrote the first letter. I've picked out some of the key quotes, but as usual a link to the full thing is in the description and I encourage you to read it for yourself. This letter is apparently from 7 of the original 10 women who wrote the first letter. The statement has in no way been asked for or influenced by the management or anyone else. This is solely the voices of those involved who are still currently employed by RockSteady. Now, while that's exactly the kind of thing someone held at gunpoint would say, there is nothing to prove or disprove that this is in fact genuine from these women. However, altogether there is nothing in this letter or the last letter that unequivocally proves anything. At this point, it's all just claims and accusations until any proof comes to light. Interestingly, the tweet with this letter has replies switched off, so make of that what you will. Some of the information in this letter directly contradicts the claims made to The Guardian, such as the idea that RockSteady did nothing about the original letter's claims and has in fact made things better. In this article, we do not believe that the article is a fair representation of us, the events at the time, or since the letter was received. When the letter was received by the studio, immediate action was taken which resulted in a series of meetings with the women of the studio to allow us a safe space to talk about any issues we were facing, figure out strategies to resolve these issues and what the studio could do going forward. The information shared by The Guardian and former senior writer Kim McCaskill said that there was no significant action taken beyond a single 1-hour seminar, but this letter contradicts that. The writers of this new letter also resent the fact that the first one was shared to the press, saying none of the current female employees at the studio who were involved with the letter were contacted about this letter being released to the media until we were informed by the studio. We feel that our privacy and wishes have been disregarded and a private matter has been made public. This has left us feeling that we have been violated by the source or sources, as it was kept private for personal reasons to all involved, not due to industry secrecy. This is a very important note to me because we've all seen how these things can play out when the public gets involved. In my opinion, they should always be solved within the company. However, I do understand that if it doesn't get anywhere, sometimes going public is the only option to get any real traction. If the original writer of the Guardian story didn't contact the other signatories, that is a big issue with the story's credibility. This new letter has no more or less evidence than the first letter did, and it's worth noting that the original letter has not been shared publicly, meaning that this whole situation is little more than just a he said she said at this point. The only fact in all this that is confirmed by the original writers of the letter and RockSteady itself is that a letter exists with claims of sexual harassment. There is nothing to definitively prove that the claims of sexual harassment did or did not actually occur, nor whether or not RockSteady ignored them. Hopefully this is the end of the public discourse around all this, and it can be sorted out properly through the proper channels, and the truth can be uncovered through the correct processes, not just the court of public opinion. And finally, Call of Duty games are a dime a dozen these days, and the next one in the pipeline has just been announced. In a short 2-minute teaser trailer, we see a kind of news report describing the Russian destabilization of the United States. It claims to be inspired by actual events, although Call of Duty as a franchise has in the past altered its historical events in significant ways, so take that line with a hell of a pinch of salt. No gameplay or in-game footage was shown at all in the trailer, but more is expected to be revealed on Wednesday the 26th of August. It's unclear what exact form this game will actually take, since Activision has altered its business model away from single-player campaign modes recently and focused more than ever on multiplayer. For example, games like Call of Duty Warzone are solely multiplayer, so this game could end up following a similar path. It would be a real shame to see such an interesting time period miss out on a proper single-player story mode, as the Cold War has plenty of opportunities for espionage and political intrigue beyond just the traditional corridor shooting. If they really wanted to do some adventurous storytelling, then they could do something featuring both sides of the Cold War, but let's be honest, that's never going to happen. We'd get a CoD game with no microtransactions before that ever happens. Still, we can hope for the best. And that's it for today. If you like this no shit format, go ahead and give the video a like to give it a boost, hit subscribe and the bell to stay notified about all future installments. Toss a coin to your YouTuber over at patreon.com/prettygoodgaming. I've been Henry Cooper. That's all for today. Bye for now.